Hello world, and welcome to Ctrl+Alt+Danominator. My name is Dan, and this is the device because today I just feel like being a square. I have been keeping an eye on the foldable space for a very long time, but it's only until recently that I decided to make the jump for it. Now this isn't actually going to become my main phone. I'm still planning on using my S23 Ultra as my main device, because truth be told, there's just too much I'm used to doing on it. I can eventually transfer things over to a new main phone, but I probably wait until this thing honestly dies completely. So why the heck do I have one of these things? Truth be told, the Samsung ecosystem kind of snuck up on me. I mean, I did manage to get the Galaxy Buds Pro 2 on sale for less than $100 at some point, and so between that and the S23 Ultra with the S Pen, I have to admit I've gotten a little comfortable with some of the ecosystem. But I never forgot about Motorola. Starting to recognize a common theme on this channel, I bet. Yep, this is the Moto G stylus I actually mentioned last video, and I still do think that this thing is great in a lot of aspects. I mean, it's got a fingerprint slider, and my favorite thing to do with this was to slide down here and it would actually pull down your notification tray. It was like the best thing. I don't actually know if it still does it. It comes down a lot better than it goes up. It's still a cool thing, okay? That's the point. But beyond that, it also has the headphone jack and SD card slot, and of course this dinky little stylus. Now, this is probably the worst version of the G stylus because it was their first one from 2020. But other than that, and the fact that it is a lot slower now and it tends to lose battery very easily, it's not a bad backup phone if I ever need my S23 Ultra to go in for like a repair or something if the seal started coming loose. Not speaking from experience or anything, I promise that wasn't a whole horror story with U-Break iFix. No. I don't know where you'd get an idea like that. But ever since I switched over to the Samsung, I've still been thinking about Motorola, and to be honest, despite being fairly unremarkable in the mobile space, I think they've been doing okay for themselves. There are a few reasons that I decided to get one of these, even though I don't plan for it to be my main phone. I got this guy on eBay for a really good price open box, and I think it's going to be the perfect companion device, if you will. Now, where do I get that idea from? This idiot. Yes, I have a Surface Duo, and yes, I still love it despite its many shortcomings. Trust me, I know it's got problems, but as a multitasking device that has two major workspaces that come together or flip around so that you can just use one workspace at a time, I really do think it is the perfect example of a foldable phone. Now I get it, it's not the most popular one and it never really was, so it's, whatever. No, people want these now. These now. And honestly, I'm not really a fan of the Galaxy Folds. I think they're neat as a concept, but as a guy who uses Samsung DeX on the S23 Ultra, and I did use it on my Samsung Tab S7 too, I just don't get it, man. The Galaxy Folds look really cool and all, but they're just so tall and they turn into just like a perfect box when you open them. I feel like that kind of defeats the point of having a foldable screen. With this, you're getting a slightly better aspect ratio to use both apps on, I guess, and so I don't really understand the appeal of the Galaxy Folds, especially considering how they're still majorly expensive, but I've honestly kind of really liked the idea of these flip phones. Why? Because of these flip phones. Yep, this is that phone I showed you last time as well. My Samsung Zeal, as it were. I have so many memories with this silly little thing. You can see how beat up it is. It's been completely destroyed, but I still loved it. This was actually my first phone in high school, and it was perfect for me. But actually, it's funny I mentioned that. This was never my primary device in high school. I always had an iPad or a 3DS, and yes, I did use a 3DS like a smart device. I used the web browser to email people. I'm not making this up. I've always had at least one or two gadgets on me. This thing was great for typing and responding to messages and things like that, but that's pretty much all it was meant to do. And the battery wasn't great and it did tend to heat up for completely random reasons. So, like, it's an old flip phone, right? What do you expect from it? And of course, this can't be used anymore. But this thing had the coolest feature. It had an e-ink keyboard screen, so you could use it upwards like this, or to the side like this. And this was so nice for responding to messages. I loved this feature. You would always see me flipping it out, flipping it around. This was like such a fun mechanical thing to me. I don't know if you would, I don't know what to call it, but it was fun, okay? And seeing as I've already had experience with carrying around one smart device and then one smarter device, if you will, I've often found myself having two Android devices around me at once. Normally, it's been my Samsung S23 Ultra and the Surface Duo, because I would use this to do secondary things. I would set it up as a tent and watch a video on it, or I would respond to Discord messages using the keyboard on the bottom screen and then holding it upwards like a DS and then having text chats on the top. I still do that every now and then. It's almost like a nostalgic habit for me now. So, with all of that background, maybe you can see where I'm going with this. I want the Motorola Razr to be my secondary little guy, if you will. And I mean, it really is a little guy. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed that Motorola, of all companies, is the one who made this. This is a Motorola Razr Plus 2024 with, I believe, 256 gigabytes of storage. And it's so cute. Look at it. I'm sorry, I can't not nerd out when it comes to these guys. They're really neat, you know? I really had an interest in the Razr when it was first re-announced with the folding factor, but I was really nervous about that inner screen. We might as well talk about it now. Whoa, I did the magic thing. And now I snapped its neck. This is such an interesting use of the form factor to me, because not only has Motorola taken advantage of the fact that the phone can be used as a small little square and then its usual height, do that height comparison now. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. That is way taller than I thought. Here, if I bring it back down to right about like where the case stops on this thing, yeah, that's a little more normal. But when we're talking about the screens when they're on and you remove the lip, oh my goodness, that's like an extra 5 lines of text. These things are so tall. But yes, the interesting thing about this form factor is how Motorola's chosen to use it. So with a Samsung Z Flip, if you will, those phones are pretty capable, and I believe they finally allowed you to use any app on the outer screen. But for a while, it wasn't like that. You could only use Samsung-specific widgets, and it took them a long time to catch up to something that Motorola has been doing for the last few generations. I didn't want to get the original new Razr when it first came out, because this was still a big common concern. This part here that folds, these phones are rated for a certain amount of folds, and then basically anything could happen. They could die. It's whatever. I'm not really crazy about that, so I wanted to wait until these had a few generations. And again, these are made by Lenovo, who isn't as, I guess, quote unquote, prestigious as Samsung, but I don't know, man. It seems like that's kind of a misconception at this point. I think Motorola phones are still honestly great, which is why I picked a Moto G stylus for my dad. But anyway, how do I plan to really use this thing? Well, first of all, it's a great note taker if you hate yourself. Oh goodness, it's really small. Here, let's see if I can type a coherent sentence. Hello world, my name is Denominator. Wait a minute. There we go, I did it. How much more miserable can I make it? Oh, it's even smaller. All right, round 2, let's see if I can do it. Hello world, my name is oh, dagnabbit. My name is Dan Pmanatir. I'm gonna try again. I can do it. Yay, I did it. Mind you, I'm also trying to film while doing this, but you can see, despite how ridiculous this form factor is, and despite how silly it is to even type on this front screen, Motorola lets you do it. And that is one of the best things about Android to me. It always has been. Whether or not an app is specifically designed to do a specific thing, you might be able to try it in a different orientation or form factor, and it might just work. Now, when I reopen this, you can see I've already set an app pair, and unfortunately, I'm currently not logged into Discord, but there you go. That's your multitasking right there. It probably makes more sense to half and half an app pair like this if you're going to be using a Moto Razr or a Galaxy Z Flip, because, you know, it perfectly bends in the middle and it just kind of looks cool like that. But if you just wanted to watch a video in its normal orientation and then have room on the bottom to do a bunch of other stuff, you can. Now, I know I don't actually have my Discord chats open right now, but I've done it before. Also, hi Shane Craig. Let's see how the audio sounds on this guy.
With hundreds of thousands of people that might watch that content here.
Oh yeah, that's some Shane Craig content right now. Shane Craig is great, by the way. I feel like you're gonna see his face pop up a lot on this channel, but anyway, this thing is a pretty cool form factor. Now, again, it is also very tall. And so that's a bit of a concern. It definitely doesn't feel as easy to hold as some other phones I've used, but then again, it's also a little thinner. It's taller so that it's easier to grip on the sides than it is to hold underneath, I guess. And so I do like it for that. However, I've also gotten used to using it like this. You can see here I've also set it up as a tent, and I use it like this all the time. I actually took a really funny video a few days ago where I ran some model trains underneath it, and it totally fit like a bridge. I am such a normal person. But then there's also this orientation if you prefer that, which actually gives the phone a little more grip. There's like this faux leather rubber underneath, and honestly, it makes it very nice to grip. But it also makes it nice to sit like that. And actually, if you lock the phone and you wave your hand around it, it'll actually display some important or current information, which is kind of cool. I believe if I just set it up like that, yeah, I've actually turned this on. This is one of the features that it has. It'll just pop open a little clock as like a little desk thing for you to keep an eye on notifications or something. Like, come on, that's cool. I see Motorola using this unique form factor to do more unique things than Samsung ever did. And that's why I wanted to get one of these, along with saving money, because oh my goodness, the Z Flips are expensive. But there's one more crucial reason that I really wanted to get a Motorola Razr specifically, and that is what I'm showing you right here. This is the first anything I have ever pre-ordered, and I'm not sure I could have picked a better thing to go with, because this is such a unique idea. The Clicks keyboard for Motorola Razr. Tell me this doesn't look like a BlackBerry. I mean, look at the color. They know. I'm actually not going to unbox this now. I feel like I would rather just start using it and then get back to you guys talking about what this thing is like. Because truth be told, I feel like the Clicks keyboard has already gotten enough traction that I don't even need to bother with that. I'm just gonna tell you my personal experience with it when I use it. But I can see this really working out as a note-taker device. I miss having tiny keyboards. And I mean, like, look at it. Look at it. This is basically a perfect evolution of this idea to me. It gives you a typing space that isn't using a darn touchscreen like everything else we use nowadays. And it also adds a little bit of extra height to a phone that allows you to just kind of hold it more like a PDA or something like that, I guess. However, I am a little concerned about what happens when you open the phone all the way, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, that's actually my main reason for getting myself a Razr, to use as a secondary device the same way that I did the Duo. But along with having this case, I feel like it's going to pair very nicely as a secondary device. I've actually heard that this thing saves a lot of energy when the screen is closed and it's just using that front screen. And the really cool thing about it is that aforementioned problem when I was using notes and then trying to type things here, that goes away when you have the Clicks keyboard on, which, you know, obvious, but that's really important because now you suddenly have this entire square to work with. I feel like this is actually a great way to just work on taking notes or typing things and be less distracted the way I might be while, say, working on the Danomination Station, which is my PC, or on a phone that can literally do everything and has a really big screen, and I get distracted with it all the time. I have ADHD, what do you want from me? And it turns out this might actually be the best time to be talking about the Razr and Clicks as well, because Clicks just announced a brand new device called the Communicator, which is literally this exact idea made into just one pocketable secondary device thing. Oh, it looks so cool, man. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna pre-order it. I wanna wait to see what people have to say about it because it is running its own version of Android that's kind of unproven because we haven't seen it. But honestly, I think I have enough faith in Mr. Mobile that he and his team are gonna do a pretty good job. Like, he has a lot of experience with these phones and he has very specific needs and interests that honestly really cater to what I like as well. So I'm really curious to see how this whole thing goes because honestly, If for some reason I'm not crazy about the Clix keyboard, maybe I'd really like the Clix communicator. But then again, it really depends on the typing experience, how well the thing works, whether or not it drains a lot of battery. I have heard somewhat conflicting things about this keyboard, so I'm wondering if the personal experience that I'll have will be a little different because I think differently and I use tech differently than a lot of people. So who knows, maybe it'll work better for me. And I know it is a little weird to not be using this as a phone, but like, that's the thing about devices like this. They're more than just phones at this point, so you can use them in a lot of different cases. So that's exactly what I plan to do. But that's actually gonna be all for this video. So I hope you're looking forward to more coverage of the Moto Razr Plus 2024. I honestly think I'm gonna get a lot of mileage out of this thing, along with the Clix keyboard. I'm looking forward to talking about that too. Until then, this is Ctrl+Alt+Danominator saying, see you later, tech heads.